Good evening and welcome to tonight's Parent University, Understanding Tyler, Your Education Gateway. I'm going to start the workshop in about 2 or 3 more minutes. We're going to give folks a few more minutes to join. Thank you for your time this evening and thank you for your patience. Well, good evening, and thank you again for joining Kansas City Public Schools Parent University Workshop on Understanding Tyler, your education gateway. I'm Courtney Adams, our Family Community Engagement Coordinator. Please note that if you're joining us on the KCPS live channel, you may experience a delay. A recording of this training, as well as the slide presentation and the two family guides that will be referenced, will be available Wednesday on our website, kcpublicsschools.org/parentu. Before we get started, we want to make sure that our Spanish-speaking families are able to access interpretation services. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Solomon to provide more instructions. Also, to accommodate sufficient time for our interpreter, we may speak a little slower and move slowly through slide transitions. Jonathan?
Hola, muy buenas a todos. This is the announcement for Spanish speakers. A todos los que hablan español, la forma de que usted puede accesar la interpretación, ya que usted ha accesado esta reunión, lo que tiene que hacer, si está en una computadora, voy a dar las dos opciones. Si está en una computadora, primero vaya a la parte de abajo, usted va a ver un pequeño mundito, ahí un mundo que dice Interpretation. Ahí usted le va a dar clic a ese pequeño mundo que dice interpretación, haga clic en español o Spanish. Y para escuchar, aquí está la cosa importante que tiene que saber. Si quiere escucharlo, ahí va a escuchar los dos idiomas, pero si quiere escuchar solamente en español, entonces tiene que darle clic a la parte que dice Mute Original Audio. Y así de esa manera solamente escuchará el español. Pero si quiere escuchar ambos, pues hágalo de esa manera. Ahora, para los que están sintonizando con su teléfono móvil, es un poquito diferente. Usted va a tener que ir ahí donde tiene los tres puntitos, tiene 3 puntos. Dele clic ahí en los 3 puntos, ahí le va a aparecer interpretación o language interpretation. Ahí dele clic a seleccione esa opción. Luego dele otro toque a donde dice español y de la misma manera usted también tiene la opción de ya sea silenciar el idioma original o seguirlo escuchando. Si está muy confuso escuchar los dos idiomas, entonces déle la opción ahí a silenciarlo y presione OK y todo estará listo. That's it.
Thank you, Jonathan. And I have one more announcement before we start. Our next district advisory committee meeting will be Wednesday, November the 11th, at 5:30 p.m., during which we'll be discussing and soliciting your feedback on the student code of conduct. So we hope that you're able to join us. You can find meeting details online at kcpublicsschools.org/DAC. With that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Joe Jarrett to begin tonight's workshop. Please type your questions in the chat or ask them at the end of the presentation, and we'll get to them. Thank you so much.
All right, good evening, everybody. So I am Joe Jarrett. I'm one of the members of the digital learning team. I believe my other 2 team members are in attendance, and they may or may not speak up if they feel so inclined. But the point of tonight is to understand our Tyler SIS, so our student information system, how to get access as a parent in order to see your students' data, things like attendance grades and behavior. So first thing, in order to get onto the parent portal through Tyler, you need to make sure you're registered with a valid email address. There are 2 ways to do that. Your first way is you're automatically registered if you enrolled in KCPS in the last several years using our online registration system. If you never used our online registration system, so you've had a student in the district for several years at this point, you would need to contact your building's secretary and give them your email address. They will put that email address in the system, and then you will be registered. But again, in order to register, either way, you need a valid email address. Once that email is registered, the next thing that happens is you get an email back from our KCPS help desk. They will give you some steps to follow, and the directions are both English and Spanish. to go ahead and sign into the parent portal. They'll also give you the opportunity to set up your password. A couple things that are very important to take away from this piece is your username to get into the parent portal is your complete email address. So the email address that you gave the secretary or that you used to enroll your student with KCPS, so including the at gmail.com or whatever your email address is. And your password is either going to be set up when you click that link at the bottom of your email, or the password that you chose when you set up your account with the building secretary if you went that route. The other important thing to note here is at the very bottom of the email, so you actually have to scroll all the way through the English version and the Spanish version to get to the link to get your password set up. If you did not set up your password beforehand, that link will expire 24 hours after you receive the email. So if that's the case, if you clicked on it too late, the link's no longer working, you can just call the building secretary again, and he or she can get you all set up again with another email, or they can just take care of that manually for you. Once you do get your email and you get everything all set up, so you got your username, you have your password, you can then navigate to the parent portal. Now this, as Courtney did say, this presentation will be available on the Parent University website. There's also some other documents that come along with this with various links and whatnot, so you'll have multiple links to the KC Public Schools Tyler page. But one of the things to really be mindful of too is you can't necessarily just Google Tyler SIS to get to the correct spot. You always want to make sure you're at the one where you can see here, it's got our KC Public Schools logo on top, or you will end up in just random school districts Tyler systems, because multiple districts around the state and country use Tyler SIS. Also be aware that the first time that you do sign in, you'll be asked to complete your online registration. So you've already got your email set up, you've already got your password set up. The next step is really just confirming your contact information. So your name, if you're multiple parents in the household, the other parent's name, as well as the best ways to get a hold of you. One of the other nice features of the parent portal with our virtual environment, all students have their devices. We have our insurance program for this year. This is also where you can register for your technology insurance. Once you have access again, you can also customize the information that you see. So if you just want to see, your students' grades, you can set it up that way. If you just want to see their attendance, you can set it up that way. You can really customize whatever data you want to be instantly available to you. And it's also important to know that all data is live and updated in real time. So if you want to see what their grades are as of today, October 26th, if you click on it, those grades will be live as long as that teacher's grade book is up to date. And at the end of this presentation, we also put in several links for you all. So you have the Tyler SIS Parent Portal login page. That'll take you to our KCPS Tyler. There are some very handy apps for both iPhones and Android phones. So if you prefer to look at student data through your app, that's awesome. And then we have a navigation guide that walks you through every single step that I just went over, including video. A walkthrough of how to fill out the online registration guide, our KCPS schools directory in case you need to get a hold of your building secretary, the Parent University homepage where you can find this presentation after tonight, and then how to get a hold of Help Desk and the digital learning team. Now, just something to be mindful of, Help Desk can only help you so much when it comes to the parent portal. If you've already registered for the parent portal previously and you just forgot your password or you forgot what email you used to register with it, you can call Help Desk and they can get you set up there. Help Desk cannot set up a new account for you. So if you've never spoken to your building secretary or you did not enroll through our online application system, you cannot call Help Desk until after that's set up. Then Help Desk can help you. And then, of course, if you run into issues, you can also get a hold of us as well, digital learning team. That email goes to the entire team, and one of us will be more than happy to assist. So that concludes the presentation piece. Now we're actually going to take a look at a live sample of the parent portal account. So one thing to be mindful of, and let me go ahead and back out, just want to make sure everything's working here. So I'm showing a parent portal account, so not to go against what I just showed you. I'm in a sample school district, Edwards School District. Of course, we don't want to sign into a real student's account in Kansas City and then have all their information and grades and stuff blasted all over the metro. So this is a sample account. And again, if you're logging in as a parent, you want to make sure you're in the Kansas City School District account. Now, one common thing too is when you first go to the account, if you're using a web-based version, you're going to end up on the staff page. So you're going to want to go over and click on Parents. And even though this is not a topic for tonight, just be mindful too, your students also have access to the parent or the student portal in this case. They have access to Tyler SIS using their normal district username and password as well. So they can check their own grades and attendance and whatnot. But click on the Parent tab. Then you go through and put in your full email address. So again, the whole @whatever.com, and make sure you have your password in there as well. Log in. And it'll take you to a screen similar to this. So some things to note on this page. The left side, these are all the different menus for all the different things you could look at. So obviously, if you want to see their grades, you can click on grades. If you want to see attendance, you can click on attendance. These will never, ever change. This is just all of the different data you have access to as a parent. Over here on the right side, these are what Tyler calls their tiles, and those are completely customizable. So if you don't want to see your student's schedule or assignments and whatnot, if you go to Settings over on the right-hand side, you can actually set this up to show exactly what you want to show. So if you want to see a summary of attendance and the details of attendance, if you want to see current grades but you don't care about the calendar, again, you can customize these as you see fit by clicking the various buttons. Once you have it looking the way you want it to look, hit save, and it'll automatically update so you can really customize what you have at a quick glance to see. But be mindful, even if you get rid of something, you can always go back and still see it over on the menu if you want to click on the menu to get to it as well. So this is just the first things you have instant access to. And then if you change your mind, click on it again, you can turn anything off or on or reverse whatever you did. Just make sure you save it if you want to save it. All right, the other important thing to note, especially when you first sign in, is all of your announcements or anything that you have to fill out immediately will be up here up top. And like I said earlier, one of those things will be your online registration, which is, again, just you confirming basically your name and all that kind of stuff. So you'll have your household parents. You click these different forms, go through them. When you're done, hit save. It goes to your building secretary, and he or she will make sure your information is up to date. Now, again, this being a sample account, they have way more things in this account than we have in KCPS. All you're going to have on your account is the online registration form. So it's going to be your parent names and whatnot, your contact information, as well as whether or not you do or do not want that technology insurance. Other things to be taking a look at, again, focusing on our big three: grades, attendance, and behavior. If you click on grades, as I said earlier, let me actually bounce over to one of the older kids in this family. All the grade books are up to date. You'll see every single subject that your student has, as well as their grades. So that's also throughout the school year. So if it's quarter one, you'll see their quarter one grades. If it's midterm, you'll see their midterm grades, and they'll just keep adding up throughout the school year. So if it's fourth quarter, you can see all the grades all the way up to that point of the school year. If you want to take a deeper dive into, why did my student have an F for midterm? If you click on any of those blue grades, that means it has a live link to that grade book. And once it loads, you can actually see how your student did on every single assignment they were given for that class. So just give you more information on why they earned the grade they earned. Once you're done looking at that, you can click the home button. That takes you back home. And as you saw there, if you happen to be a parent of multiple students in the school district, there is a drop down to where you'll have access to all of your kids at once. It's not like you have to sign into different accounts for each student. All of your students should be found up here. If that is not the case, that's where you can call the building secretary again, and they should make sure you're set up in Tyler, that you're the parents of multiple students, and they can take care of that for you. But you can bounce around from student to student, and again, instantly get the information you need. Other than grades, you can also look at attendance, where they will show you pretty much any day that they're absent. So it's just assumed if you don't see that date on here, they were present for that day. So you get that history immediately. And what's also nice is in the top right, you can keep track of your students' attendance rate. So of course, we want all our kids to be here as often as possible. And you can get a quick glance at how your student is doing in that regard. You can also see if there's any excessive absence issues, or if there's any additional notes that were left for your student. And again, going back home. The other really important one is parents might want to be mindful of any kind of discipline that their student might be facing. So that would be the behavior tab or option on the menu. And that'll show pretty much any time they've quote unquote gotten in trouble. So if you need to go through and review that, you got a call from the principal, whatever, you can always go back through and access those things and see notes that were made as well. The same concept. You have a list of things, click on it, and you get those additional details. Those are the three we're really focusing on, but as you see here, you can take a look at a lot of different things for your student. You get into academic history for multiple school years. You can look at their schedule if you forgot, what class they might be in at a given time, or the name of their PE teacher. So there are a lot of different things you can look at beyond just grades, attendance, and behavior. And the other really helpful thing over here is, as a parent, especially if you have a new phone number or you moved, you can update your contact information immediately from this portal without having to call the building or fill out any forms or anything beyond that. You'll notice I can't click on this right now because it won't let me update my household data until I until I fill out my online registration form, because that's what that is your household data. So once I fill this out, that updates this, and then if I need to fill it out again, I can just click this again and update that information whenever I need to. But you can also choose your notification preferences right here. We can click that right now. Oh, never mind. In our sample account, it's not letting me do that now. So in KCPS account, in your true account, when you click on that, you can choose how you want to be contacted. So if you need to change your email address or update your cell phone or say which one you prefer to be contacted on, you can change those things properly. Not in Edwards. Edwards likes to trick me sometimes. But once you do get that looking the way you want it in real life, save button, and then you'll be able to update that information there as well. But that is all we planned on showing. So I believe at this point, we will definitely open it up to if anybody has any questions in regard to the Tyler SIS parent portal.
Joe, this is Courtney. Can you touch a little bit on communicating, like sending emails to various teachers or multiple teachers in the system?
Yes, one moment.
And then there were also 2 questions in the chat. Andrea answered them in the chat, but once you provide this answer, then I'll go ahead and just read the answer, read the question and the answer, so that somebody who might not be looking at the chat or might have access to the chat still has the information.
Okay. Get my share back going here. All right, so as with all things, Tyler, there are multiple screens from which you can contact a teacher. We're going to go ahead and show how to do it from the student schedule, because that kind of makes sense. That might be a place you go to find a teacher's information. So if you click on the student schedule, it'll show you, of course, the student schedule, as well as every single teacher they have. If you click on any one of those teachers, or any one of these buttons really, it opens up a whole nother row. One of those buttons is email teacher. Click on that. That'll email, so you're going to email them from Tyler, but it goes to their real email accounts. You're not necessarily communicating through Tyler. Give it a subject, type in what you need to type in, and then down in the bottom right, you can send it as well. But it'll automatically pull that teacher's email address directly from our Tyler SIS account. If you don't like, because some people don't necessarily like using these form emails, you can just copy and paste this into your email as well if you want to email from your Gmail account or whatever.
And if the teacher responds, how do they view the response?
That's a good question.
I'm asking for myself, actually.
Yeah. I'm wondering if it's smart enough. I have not tried this one out yet. I'm not sure if it's smart enough to know if I'm signed in as joe@barker.com, if it'll show that as my return address. I'll have to investigate that a little bit further.
Okay, thank you. So one of the questions from the chat was, does each parent need their own portal? Andrea responded and said, if you want 2 accounts, you will need to both sign up with your emails. You can do this with your secretary by providing both email addresses at sign up. A follow-up question was, if you have 2 parent accounts, do you each have customized settings, or is each change reflected across both accounts? Andrea's response was, each change is reflected on both accounts. And that's all the questions in the chat. Participants, attendees, please feel free to unmute yourselves and ask any questions you have. If there's a section or a piece of Tyler you want to dig deeper into, please ask the question or throw your question in the chat. We'll give it like 15 more seconds in case you're typing.
Hey, this is Diane. Are the teachers updating daily on the grades? Because I noticed my students' grades, I'll look at it 3 days in a row and they don't move.
Yes, so I can speak on that kind of. Teachers aren't necessarily going to be obligated to update their grades daily. There is a set amount of grades they should have, and they should be updating those grades when they get them. But as far as daily updates, I think at least weekly they should be getting into their grade books and adding something, but not necessarily daily.
Okay, thank you.
Another question in the chat, there seems to be, or maybe a comment, there seems to be confusion on when to use Tyler and when to use Google Classroom and the various platforms. Can you provide some guidance or clarity on that?
Yeah, so Tyler is straight just student information. It's going to hold all of the data. A student won't need to do anything with Tyler other than use that to look at their grades. Google Classroom, assuming the student's using Google Classroom as their learning platform, is where they would go to actually do their work. So from the student side, you're doing your work in Google Classroom, and you're seeing your grade in Tyler SIS. From the teacher side, they're assigning the work in Google Classroom, they're grading that work in Google Classroom, but then they're inputting that grade in Tyler SIS.
While I wait a few more, does someone have a question? While we wait a few more seconds, as a person who is a member of the communications and community engagement team, I want to encourage you all to just verify that your personal information in Tyler is correct. That's across household information, your notification preferences, everywhere that you have your phone number, your email address, and your mailing address, please just verify that that information is correct, because that's the best information that we have to get a hold of you. So if you're not receiving our district emails or your school emails, or if there was something that was supposed to be mailed, I know we had a lot of returned packets when we first went on quarantine in the spring, and it's because a lot of the information is outdated or incorrect. So please just verify that your personal information is correct. And then, are there any more questions or comments?
Yeah, this is Diane again. Okay, so like when I click on like a certain class and I open it up and it shows all the assignments, like this one I'm looking at for this one class, the teacher hasn't put in any of the assignments in Tyler since October 7th. So are they required to input this stuff into Tyler? Or, I mean, it's not helping me any if I can't see everything in all of his assignments. Is there another way that I can see all of his assignments?
There is not. Now, if your student's in Google Classroom, and this is depending on how the teacher has things set up. So as of the moment, we don't have anything that integrates into Tyler SIS from a teacher grading standpoint. So any grades a student receives at some point need to be put into Tyler. So it could be, and I don't know who this teacher is or what grade level the teacher or anything, beyond that. So it could be that they're maintaining grades in Google Classroom or providing feedback in Seesaw or whatever the learning platform might be, so students are aware of what they're receiving, and they just have not put grades into Tyler yet. But that starts getting.
So that doesn't help me as a parent to stay on top of my kids' grades. Yes, I'm getting on to him for things that he's not, that I see that he's not doing, but then I look at the date and it's like, well, this is 3 weeks ago and there's nothing else in here.
Yeah, in that case, I would definitely recommend reaching out to that teacher and seeing if perhaps there is a way to streamline that communication.
Yeah, if they're not using it properly, it's not helping the parents at all.
Yeah, understood. I mean, that's something that goes beyond my pay grade on grade level. So.
Any?
Oh, sorry. Words of encouragement there.
Any final questions or comments? Well, this is record time. Thank you all so much, and Joe and the rest of the digital learning team. I guess I can share my screen. Thank you so much for your time and for this information. Hopefully it is helpful. Hopefully teachers are maintaining the grades in Tyler and keeping them up to date, especially, with parent-teacher conferences right around the corner. So, okay, sorry, I was looking at the chat. Thank you so much. This video will be available again on the Parent University web page of our site, as well as the links and resources that Joe mentioned in the presentation. So thank you. We hope to see you at our District Advisory Committee meeting November the 11th, and for our our November Parent University once it's scheduled. So thank you all. Stay warm, stay safe, take care.